Merry Christmas to every single one of you incredible fans out there. I hope you're having an amazing day filled with joy, laughter, and everything that makes this season special. Drop a Merry Christmas in the comments right now and let's spread that holiday cheer together. But listen, I need you to buckle up because what I'm about to tell you is going to absolutely blow your mind and might just ruin your peaceful Christmas dinner conversation. We need to talk about something that happened that has the entire wrestling world completely shaken to its core, and I guarantee by the end of this video, you're going to be just as fired up as I am right now. So Femi just did the unthinkable. This man actually stepped up and challenged Brock Lesnar. You heard that right. Femi looked directly into the camera and called out the beast incarnate himself, and that's not even the craziest part of this whole situation. He didn't just challenge Lesnar for a match or some kind of one-on-one confrontation. No. This man promised, and I mean literally promised, that he's going to dismantle the Vision. Now before some of you start typing in the comments that I'm overreacting or being dramatic, let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw someone with the audacity, the sheer unfiltered confidence, to not only call out Brock Lesnar but to also threaten to destroy everything that Paul Heyman has been building? I'll wait. That's right, you can't think of anyone because nobody has been bold enough or perhaps stupid enough to paint that kind of target on their back. And here's where this gets really interesting and honestly kind of infuriating when you think about it. The disrespect. The absolute disrespect that's being shown right now is mind-blowing, and I don't even know who I'm more frustrated with at this point. Is it Femi for thinking he can just waltz into this situation and make these kinds of declarations? Is it Brock Lesnar for potentially allowing this to happen? Or is it the entire system that's enabling this chaos? Because let me tell you something, and I need you to really hear me on this. The Vision isn't just some random faction or group that you can casually threaten to dismantle. Paul Heyman has spent years, literal years, crafting and cultivating what the Vision represents. This is a legacy built on dominance, on strategic brilliance, on an understanding of the wrestling business that very few people possess. And now we have Femi acting like he can just tear it all down? Let's talk about Femi for a second because I think we need to really examine what's happening here. This is a guy who, don't get me wrong, has shown incredible potential and has had some impressive moments in his career so far. But impressive moments don't equal being ready to step into the ring with Brock Lesnar. They don't equal being capable of dismantling something as significant as the Vision. What we're seeing here is either the most confident man in professional wrestling or someone who has absolutely no idea what they've just gotten themselves into, and honestly, I'm leaning toward the latter. The more I think about this, the more it bothers me because it feels like we're watching someone write a check that their body absolutely cannot cash. Brock Lesnar is not your typical opponent. This isn't someone you can prepare for with a few extra workouts and some studying of match footage. We're talking about a man who has conquered UFC, who has dominated WWE for over 2 decades, who has physically broken some of the toughest competitors this industry has ever seen. The Beast Incarnate didn't earn that nickname by being easy to deal with or by showing mercy to people who challenge him. He earned it by being an absolute force of nature, by being someone who can legitimately hurt you if he wants to. And Femi thinks he's ready for that? He thinks he can not only survive against Lesnar but actually come out on top and destroy the Vision in the process? Here's what really gets under my skin about this whole situation. The timing. Why now? Why is Femi choosing this exact moment to make this challenge and these promises? Is it because he sees an opportunity? Is it because he thinks the Vision is vulnerable in some way? Or is this purely about ego and trying to make a name for himself by taking down the biggest target possible? Because if it's the latter, then we're watching a masterclass in poor decision-making. You don't build your legacy by being reckless. You don't cement your place in history by biting off more than you can chew. You do it by being strategic, by picking your battles, by understanding when you're truly ready to step up to that next level. And let's talk about the Vision itself because this is where things get really complex and frankly kind of concerning. Paul Heyman's Vision has been about domination, about control, about having the most dangerous weapons in professional wrestling at his disposal. Brock Lesnar is the ultimate representation of that Vision. He's the enforcer, the destroyer, the one who makes it all real and tangible. When Paul Heyman promises destruction, Brock Lesnar is the one who delivers it. So when Femi says he's going to dismantle the Vision, what exactly does that mean? Is he talking about defeating Lesnar? Is he talking about somehow separating Heyman from his clients? Is he talking about exposing some kind of weakness in the entire operation? Because each of those scenarios requires a completely different approach and honestly, a completely different skill set. The problem with making these kinds of bold declarations is that you've now put yourself in a position where anything less than total success is going to be viewed as complete failure. Femi can't just have a competitive match with Brock Lesnar now. He can't just put up a good fight and earn respect. No, he's promised to dismantle the Vision, which means he needs to not only defeat Lesnar but do it in such a devastating way that the entire foundation of what Heyman has built comes crashing down. Do you understand how astronomically difficult that is? Do you understand the level of performance that's required to pull something like that off? Let me put this in perspective for those of you who might be newer to wrestling or who might not fully grasp what we're dealing with here. Brock Lesnar's list of accomplishments is absolutely staggering. Multiple WWE Championships, Universal Championships, Royal Rumble victories, WrestleMania main events, UFC Heavyweight Championship, NCAA Division I Wrestling Championship. This man has proven himself at the highest levels of multiple combat sports. He's not just a professional wrestler who learned some moves and developed a character. He's a legitimate fighter who happens to be in professional wrestling. That's a crucial distinction that I think gets lost sometimes when people talk about challenging Lesnar. When you step into the ring with Brock Lesnar, you're not just facing another wrestler. You're facing someone who could legitimately hurt you if things went wrong. You're facing someone whose Suplex City isn't just a catchy phrase but a very real description of what he's going to do to your body. You're facing someone who has made careers out of embarrassing and destroying people who thought they were ready for him. John Cena, Randy Orton, The Undertaker, CM Punk, Roman Reigns before he really hit his stride, all of these legendary performers have been on the receiving end of Lesnar's dominance at various points. And Femi thinks he's going to be different? But here's where I'll give Femi a tiny bit of credit, and I mean tiny. At least he's showing confidence. At least he's not backing down or playing it safe. In a business where so many people are content to stay in their lane and not rock the boat, there's something to be said for someone who's willing to aim high and take massive risks. The question is whether that confidence is backed up by actual ability and preparation, or whether it's just youthful arrogance that's going to get him hurt. Because make no mistake, this isn't a video game where you can just respawn if things go wrong. This is real life, and real consequences are attached to decisions like this. The vision represents more than just Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. It represents a philosophy, an approach to professional wrestling that prioritizes dominance and brutality above all else. It's about having the most dangerous collection of talent and using them strategically to maintain control over the entire landscape. When you threaten to dismantle that, you're not just threatening one or two people. You're threatening an entire ideology, an entire way of doing business. And that means you're making enemies out of everyone who benefits from that system, everyone who believes in that approach. Femi isn't just challenging Brock Lesnar to a match. He's declaring war on an entire movement, and I'm not sure he's fully thought through what that means. Think about it this way. If somehow, and I mean somehow in the most hypothetical sense possible, Femi were to actually defeat Brock Lesnar, what happens next? Does the vision just crumble immediately? Does Paul Heyman suddenly lose all credibility and influence? Of course not. If anything, it would make them more dangerous because they'd be wounded and looking for revenge. They'd come back harder, more focused, more determined to prove that one loss doesn't define them. So even in the absolute best case scenario for Femi, he's not dismantling anything. He's just poking the bear and making his life exponentially more difficult going forward. And we haven't even talked about Paul Heyman's role in all of this yet. The Wiseman, the special counsel, the advocate, whatever title he's going by these days, is arguably the most dangerous person in this entire equation. Heyman's mind is a weapon unto itself. His ability to manipulate situations, to get inside people's heads, to turn their strengths into weaknesses is unmatched in the history of professional wrestling. He's going to be studying Femi, learning everything about him, finding every possible vulnerability and exploiting it ruthlessly. And when you combine Heyman's strategic genius with Lesnar's physical dominance, you have a combination that has proven to be virtually unstoppable for over 2 decades. So where does this leave us? We have Femi issuing this challenge and making these promises. We have Brock Lesnar presumably somewhere hearing about this and deciding how he wants to respond. We have Paul Heyman undoubtedly already formulating a plan to deal with this situation. And we have the entire wrestling world watching and wondering how this is all going to play out. My prediction, and I could be wrong but I really don't think I am, is that we're about to watch Femi learn a very harsh lesson about the difference between confidence and readiness. Here's what bothers me most about situations like this: the potential for genuine harm. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic or act like every match is a matter of life and death, but when you're talking about Brock Lesnar, the margin for error is razor thin. This is a guy who has legitimately injured people before, sometimes intentionally as part of the storyline, sometimes accidentally because of how physical and intense his style is. When you challenge someone like that and make it personal by threatening to dismantle everything they're associated with, you're increasing the chances that things could go wrong in a very real way. And let's address the elephant in the room here. Some of you in the comments are probably thinking that this is all just entertainment, that it's all scripted and predetermined, so why am I getting so worked up about it? Well, here's the thing. Yes, professional wrestling is scripted in terms of outcomes and storylines, but the physicality is very real. The athleticism required is very real. The toll it takes on your body is very real. And the consequences of stepping into the ring unprepared or overmatched are very real. Just because we know it's entertainment doesn't mean we should ignore the legitimate concerns about someone potentially getting in over their head. The vision has been built on the idea that Paul Heyman surrounds himself with unstoppable forces, with people who can back up every word he says. Brock Lesnar is the ultimate embodiment of that principle. He's not just talk. He's proven time and time again that he can deliver on any threat, any promise, any prediction. When Heyman says Lesnar is going to destroy someone, it happens. When he says the Vision will dominate, it happens. That track record isn't built on luck or smoke and mirrors. It's built on legitimate dominance and strategic brilliance. Femi promising to dismantle all of that feels, and I'm just being honest here, it feels premature at best and delusional at worst. I want to support young talent stepping up and taking chances. I want to see new stars emerge and challenge the established order. But there's a difference between being ambitious and being reckless, and I'm concerned that we're seeing the latter rather than the former in this situation. The best case scenario here is that Femi has some kind of ace up his sleeve that we don't know about yet, some strategy or approach that gives him a legitimate chance. But barring that, we're potentially watching someone make a career-altering mistake. Let me ask you all a question, and I want you to really think about this before you answer in the comments. What would constitute success for Femi in this situation? Is it simply surviving a match with Brock Lesnar? Is it landing some significant offense and proving he belongs on that level? Is it actually defeating Lesnar in some way? Or is it literally dismantling the Vision as he's promised? Because each of those represents a very different level of achievement, and I'm not sure Femi has clearly defined what success looks like for him. That lack of clarity could be a major problem as this situation develops. The wrestling business has always been about compelling stories and dramatic confrontations, but the best stories are the ones that feel believable within the context of the world that's been established. And within the world of WWE, within the universe that's been built over the past few years, the idea of Femi dismantling the Vision just doesn't feel believable yet. Maybe that will change. Maybe he'll do something in the coming weeks that completely shifts the narrative and makes us all believers. But right now, in this moment, it feels like watching someone write a story they're not equipped to tell. Brock Lesnar's response to this challenge is going to be fascinating to watch. Will he take Femi seriously as a threat, or will he view this as an annoyance that needs to be dealt with quickly and brutally? Will Paul Heyman see this as an opportunity to make an example out of someone, or will there be some level of respect for the audacity being shown? These are the questions that are going to define how the situation unfolds, and the answers could vary wildly depending on what's happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to. One thing I know for certain is that Paul Heyman isn't going to let this challenge go unanswered. The wise man has never been one to ignore threats to his Vision or his clients. He's going to respond, and that response is going to be calculated, devastating, and designed to not only deal with Femi but to send a message to anyone else who might be thinking about challenging the Vision. That's how Heyman operates. Every move is about multiple objectives, every action serves a larger purpose. Femi isn't just dealing with one match or one opponent. He's dealing with a chess master who's thinking 5 moves ahead at all times. The physicality that Brock Lesnar brings to the table is something that's hard to truly appreciate until you see it in person or until you really study what he does. Those suplexes aren't just impressive-looking moves. They're genuinely dangerous maneuvers that require incredible strength and precision to execute safely. The F5 isn't just a finisher. It's a move that has ended countless matches and storylines throughout Lesnar's career. When you challenge Brock Lesnar, you're volunteering to be on the receiving end of that punishment, and I don't think everyone fully grasps what that entails. I keep coming back to the word dismantle because it's such a strong, definitive term. Femi didn't say he was going to challenge the Vision or compete against the Vision or even defeat the Vision. He said dismantle. That implies total destruction, complete and utter breakdown of everything the Vision stands for. That's an incredibly high bar to set for yourself, and it's going to make anything less than that look like failure. If Femi loses to Lesnar but puts up a good fight, people are still going to say he failed because he promised to dismantle the Vision. If he loses quickly and decisively, it's going to look even worse because not only did he fail to dismantle the Vision, he became another victim of it. The pressure that comes with making these kinds of statements is immense. Every eye in the wrestling world is now on Femi waiting to see if he can back up his words. Every fan, every critic, every fellow wrestler is watching and forming opinions. That kind of scrutiny can either elevate someone's performance or crush them under its weight. We're about to find out which category Femi falls into, and honestly, I'm not optimistic based on what we've seen so far. Here's something else that concerns me about this whole situation: the potential for this to damage Femi's career long-term if it goes wrong. Professional wrestling has a long memory. Fans remember who backed up their big talk and who came up short. If this ends badly for Femi, and by badly I mean a decisive loss that makes him look foolish for ever issuing the challenge, it could take years to recover from that. It could define his career in a negative way, always being the guy who challenged Lesnar and got destroyed for his trouble. That's not a label anyone wants attached to them. But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about all of this. Maybe Femi knows something we don't. Maybe he has a plan that's going to shock the world and actually give him a legitimate chance against Lesnar. Maybe the people behind the scenes have faith in him that's justified and that we're just not seeing yet. I want to be wrong about this. I want to be proven wrong and have to come back and make a video admitting that Femi was everything he said he was and more. That would be an incredible story, and it would be great for the business. The vision as a concept has been one of the most compelling elements of WWE programming in recent memory. It's given us a framework for understanding why certain things happen, why certain people are aligned together, why the dominance we've witnessed makes sense within the larger narrative. To have someone threaten to dismantle all of that creates natural drama and conflict, which is exactly what wrestling is supposed to do. So from a storytelling perspective, I understand why this challenge exists and why these promises are being made. My concern is purely about whether the execution is going to live up to the premise. Brock Lesnar has faced plenty of challenges throughout his career. He's heard every tough guy speech, every promise of defeat, every threat to end his dominance. And time after time, he's proven that talk is cheap and that when the bell rings, he's still the most dangerous man in professional wrestling. What's going to make Femi any different? What does he possess that all of Lesnar's previous challengers didn't? These are legitimate questions that deserve answers, and I'm not sure we're going to get satisfying ones. Paul Heyman's ability to build someone up on the microphone is legendary. He can make anyone sound like the most dangerous person on the planet, but he can also tear someone down just as effectively. If this challenge is accepted and we get to a point where Heyman is cutting promos about Femi, we're going to see a masterclass in psychological warfare. Heyman is going to pick apart every aspect of Femi's career, every weakness, every question mark, and he's going to do it in a way that plants doubt not just in the audience's mind but potentially in Femi's mind as well. The magnitude of this challenge cannot be overstated. We're talking about one of the biggest names in wrestling history, someone who has main event WrestleManias, someone who has been the face of the company at various points, someone whose legacy is already cemented regardless of what happens from here on out. Femi is essentially trying to use Lesnar as a stepping stone to elevate himself, and while that makes sense from an ambition standpoint, it's incredibly risky because if you slip while trying to step on a stone that big, you're going to fall hard. I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying Femi has no chance whatsoever. I'm not saying he's not talented or capable. What I'm saying is that the gap between being talented and capable and being ready to dismantle the vision and defeat Brock Lesnar is massive. It's a canyon that very few people have successfully crossed in the history of this business. And based on everything we've seen so far, I'm not convinced Femi is one of those rare individuals who can make that leap successfully. The coming weeks are going to be absolutely critical. How does this challenge get officially accepted or acknowledged? What does Brock Lesnar's first response look like? How does Paul Heyman frame this situation to the audience? These are all elements that will determine whether this becomes a legendary storyline or a cautionary tale about the dangers of overconfidence. Right now, it could go either way, but my instincts tell me we're headed toward the latter rather than the former. So here's what I want from all of you watching this video. I want you to think critically about what you're seeing. Don't just accept things at face value because someone makes a bold statement. Consider the history, consider the track record, consider the realistic possibilities. And then I want you to tell me in the comments, am I completely off base here? Am I being too harsh on Femi? Or am I actually being too generous and not emphasizing enough how much of a mismatch this could potentially be? I genuinely want to know what you all think because this is a situation that has so many different angles and perspectives. The beauty and the curse of professional wrestling is that anything is possible. On any given night, someone can rise to the occasion and deliver a performance that defies all expectations. But relying on that possibility, banking on everything going perfectly when you're facing someone like Brock Lesnar, that's not a strategy. That's a prayer. And in professional wrestling, prayers don't win matches. Preparation, skill, strategy, and sometimes a little bit of luck win matches. Femi's challenge to Brock Lesnar and his promise to dismantle the vision has created one of the most intriguing situations in wrestling right now. It's got people talking, it's generating interest, it's creating debate and discussion. From that perspective, it's already successful because attention is the currency of this business. But there's a difference between generating attention and delivering on the promises that generated that attention. We're going to find out very soon which category this situation falls into, and I have a strong feeling that the answer isn't going to be what Femi is hoping for. Before we wrap this up, I need you all to do something for me. If you made it this far into the video, if you've been listening to everything I've had to say, I need you to hit that like button right now. I need you to subscribe if you haven't already. And most importantly, I need you to share this video with everyone you know who follows wrestling because this conversation is too important to keep to ourselves. We need to be talking about this. We need to be analyzing it. We need to be holding people accountable for the claims they make and the challenges they issue. Merry Christmas once again to every single one of you, and thank you so much for spending part of your holiday with me talking about this absolutely insane situation. Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell me if you think Femi has any chance at all, and let's keep this conversation going. Because one way or another, we're about to witness something significant, and I want us all to be ready for whatever comes next.